Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another shorter version of our FanJam Talkshow. Tonight, we have just family with us, Jack Huxley. Jack, have you recovered from the men's tournament last week? And
Yeah, just about. Yeah, similar with every tournament, you come away thinking, what could have been? How could I have done it differently? But it was good fun, man. And what an advert for the game, for men's netball, for mixed netball. Hopefully start big things for the future. But yeah, it's good to be back, man. It's been a long time.
I thought it was a very good advert for
Yes.
people outside to have a look inside of what
Yes.
England has to offer in terms of men's netball. So, yes, my
Good to see you strut your
congratulations.
stuff again, Colin.
Well, I did what I needed to do, what my body allowed me to do, and next time I'll be in a better shape because now
Come on.
we have this to look forward to.
Yeah.
We can go and get our bodies back and get
Mhm.
fit and get out there and exercise our talent. So, tonight we should have one of the world's best shooter with us, Romelda Aiken. I think she must be tied up in the outback. Having some
Not
of that
much-
gorgeous.
Not much signal out there.
Well, maybe she's having some of that gorgeous country tucker in the outback.
Must be.
And this is me trying to give my best Australian accent. But let us go with the news of the day. The breaking news of the day is that Dan Ryan is not returning
Yes.
to Leeds Rhino. Quel dommage, as the French would say. What a pity.
Yeah, that is a big shame. I think we've seen what they're building there, and it's exciting. I think the biggest issue they'll have is in terms of players. I think is that obviously what Dan brings as a coach in terms of structure, and you saw last year what he kind of grew the team into throughout the season, and making top four was just incredible. But actually, in terms of the caliber of players that another coach will be able to bring in, I guess in some ways he's picking from a different pool, isn't he? So, you know, the likes of Sarah Francis Bayman, Tamsin with her influence up in Scotland, you know, Camilla Buchanan down at Mavericks, they've all got kind of their own sway. And, you know, Karen Gregg, they've got friends from when they were on the teams and when they've been in the circuit and whatever. So they can get top level English players. But actually, there's a lot of them pulling from that pool, whereas there's not anyone who has the same access that Dan has to Australian players. So obviously, we saw Donnell Wallum. Not necessarily confident in seeing her come back next season. Maddie Brown was meant to be coming over next year, but don't know if that will happen now. I even heard rumours that Caitlin Bassett might be joining, which again seems unlikely now. Dan's gone, depending who they get to replace him. So I do worry for them, and I think it could be a big.
Well, it's been confirmed that Donnell Vellum is not coming back.
Oh, has it? Okay.
She has opted not to take up
Yeah.
her second year because of family reasons. She recently lost her grandmother.
Yeah, well, there was a family. She went back for it, didn't she? For the
Yeah,
funeral.
and she went back pretty early. So, and in her culture, in the Aboriginal culture, family is everything for them. Family, you know, it is. They're very tight. So I can understand totally with her losing someone so close, someone who she had a lot of influence on her growing up as a child. Losing her, that would have taken a lot out of her.
Sure.
So the best place for her would be obviously to be back in Australia. I'm sure that she will get another contract.
Well, yeah, she did. She spent some time with Was it with Fever as a training partner?
No, well, she is a training partner for Fever.
Still,
She is a registered training partner for Fever.
Yeah, and
but
I think
the thing is, if Janelle resigns, which I'm sure Janelle will resigns,
yeah,
you know, the chance of Wallem getting on court is pretty slim. So
yeah, and also
my advice would be to go somewhere else.
Yeah, I agree. And I think even if not even just from like a value on court point of view, it's just if you're the Fever coaches, you don't want Janelle and Danelle because they're quite similar style players. So actually you want to have a second. I mean,
I would say
there's differences.
To a degree, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of differences.
Yeah. But if you look at the two of them next to someone like a Cara Conan or a Joe Harton, for example, there's Keir Austin. Like there's a big difference in that. And so I think, yeah, especially now they've only got squads of 10, I think for a match day, if you're having a backup shooter, you want someone who offers something a bit different. And, you know, Janelle does give them such flexibility because she is so reliable that they can then load up their bench with another kind of goal attack shooter style, more kind of dynamic out of the circle player. But yeah, I think you're right. I think surely some team has to take a fly. And I think we've seen this year with the likes of what was that girl called who came up as a injury replacement at Fever? Not at Fever, at Vixens. Do you remember?
Samuelson.
Yeah, Riley Samuelson. Yeah, I think you're seeing players like her who kind of came up and adapted so well.
But also look at Sophie Dwyer.
Yeah, exactly.
From Giants.
Yeah,
I mean, she was a replacement for Kiara Austin.
Yeah, I think you'll see more teams maybe feeling a bit more confident to take risks on players. Georgie Horgis as well. Not Georgie Horgis. What's the young one called? Thunderbirds. Is it Horgis? Yeah.
Yes. Gorgeous Horgis.
Gorgeous Horgis. You know.
Gorgeous Horgis.
You've seen the way they've adapted like ducks to water. So I think other teams will be looking to take risks on players like Donnell who have shown, you know, yes, it's a different level, but the Super League's no joke. Like she's shown that she can do it. And she was dominant in the Super League last year. So, yeah, I think you're right.
She's now in the development squad.
For Australia?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think, things like that, I think teams will be silly not to take a fly on her because, brutally, if they don't take her this season, then by next season she'll be an even hotter property. So you got to take the chance while you can.
Well, there is a space at Melbourne Vixens. So who would you like to see go there? Bassett or Wallem?
Who's gone? Who went?
Well, they lost shooters from last year. They lost Place, they lost Tegan. Who would you like to see pair up with Kumwenda?
Well,
Bassett or Wallem?
In a word, I'd go Vellum. I think we've talked about this on the show before. Vixens are in a rebuilding phase. Like this season was the start of a rebuilding for them. They lost, Tegan. They lost Caitlin Thwaites. Obviously, they've had Liz Watson, who's injured, which is obviously a massive loss for them, and that can't be accounted for. But actually, if you're looking at building for the future, you know, Kumwenda's been around a long time now. Like someone like a Bassett, with the best will in the world, you're probably getting 1 or 2 seasons of her out at that kind of top level. And we've already seen that her levels aren't as high as they used to be. So I think, you want to look at a younger option who has maybe got further to go, maybe isn't at the same level as Bassett at the moment, but has got more potential to surpass the levels.
Well, if I was Simone McInnes, and I'm not, I'd need blonde hair for that. I would go with Vellum, Kumwenda, and Ronnie Samuelson as my pre-shoot.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. Samuelson, surely they've got to bring her through. She's their own.
Because then if there's a game where Vellum isn't working out with Kumwenda, I would then take Vellum off and bring in Samuelson. Kumwenda goes to the back, and so forth.
Yeah,
Or
and
take Kumwenda off, bring Samson on. Yep.
but that's the thing, isn't it? The three of them, that is like your sort of dream three shooters in a 10 person squad.
And then bring Watson back. Oh Lord.
Yeah. That
and
could
then
do some.
That's the tasty dish.
Yeah, well, they've got them, and they've got Dehaney at the back now, who's been absolutely, a revelation this season. I mean, not to our Jamaican fans, who will obviously have known lots about her, but I feel like even they would acknowledge that she's stepped up another level this season.
She has.
So yeah,
because she's been there for quite some time now. So she's been there for 4 years, 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
So so she's now coming into her own now, and she's really, really giving them the return that they need. Yeah. So I hope that Vixens are working behind the scenes to try and secure this big shootout. And hopefully they can.
Do you think Bassett's coming back then?
But coming back, but going where?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah.
But also, there was supposed to be a new team.
In Australia?
They were supposed to add one new team. And I think it was coming from the Tasmania area.
Okay.
So she could go there.
Is that still planning to happen? Or is that going to be delayed by COVID?
It is. No. It is down to happen. They've got the license and everything.
So there'll be 9 teams next year.
So it will be, So I she could go there.
Yeah.
And and moving swiftly on, the top coach's position at FIBA is up for grabs.
Is it? Where's Marinkovic going?
Keep up, Jack.
I know, I'm missing all of this gossip. I only watched the netball.
Good heavens. She gave her resignation in quite some time ago.
Okay. What, just to focus on Australia?
To focus on Australia.
Makes sense.
You see, this is why, I am so needed to keep up with the international news.
You are. It's because I've always got I always have the stories hidden on my thing because I don't like seeing the scores.
I don't need notes. I don't write them. I don't need them. So
all in here.
All here. So tell me, who do you think will take this position? Qu'est-ce que tu penses, as the French would say?
I mean, a certain Mr. Dan Ryan's just gone home. I don't know if his name would be quite talked about yet, but
exactly. And Perth is not too far from Melbourne.
Exactly. I guess you've got to look at its risk and reward for the other coaches. Is a coach likely to move from a head coach role at another team to that one? Probably not, but maybe. I mean, to put it brutally, are FIBA going to offer the head coach role to someone who's been being beaten by FIBA for the last few years? Possibly not. And then are you then looking at an assistant coach? Will it be an assistant coach at the FIBA who steps up, an assistant coach from another club, someone outside like Dan Ryan? I don't know what Rob Wright's plans are. More of kind of risky, if you could call it that, appointments. And then, I don't know. Have you thrown your hat in the ring yet, Colin, or are you waiting for the call?
My hat is thrown in a lot of rings, but nothing in Australia. Nothing in Australia. Thank you very much.
Who do you think it will be then?
I would like to see either Norma Plummer or Dan Ryan.
No, Norma,
those
of course.
Yes, because Norma, like Dan, has a signature. And once they get in there and get their work done, you'll see the work on court. Norma had a signature, huge signature, and so does Dan. Yeah.
The dish will taste sweet when cooked by Norma.
Oh, Norma, you know what you're getting with Norma. You know what you're gonna get with Dan. So you'll get more of the attacking style with Dan, but Norma is a defending girl, and Norma will grind you down, all the way, So yeah, I would like to see one of those two coaches.
Yeah,
I don't think Norma is going to take it, so I'd go with Dan.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, Norma would make sense because, I mean, the Fever attack end is pretty strong. Like, as long as Janelle's there, then they're looking all right. So defensively might be where they want to improve, but I guess it's difficult, isn't it, when you come into a winning team? And obviously at the moment, they
haven't won yet.
Yeah, they're not champions. They obviously scored the most points in the season, but because of the deductions are going through finals, and there's every chance they'll lose to the Giants tomorrow morning, depending where you are. What do you mean? It's possible. 2 teams in the match.
It's possible, yes, but it's not going to happen.
I mean,
it's not going to happen.
If I was a gambling man, I would be putting my money on the Fever, but you never know. Big games, people do silly things.
To be fair, the match against when they played last week
against Lightning.
I thought Aaron and Bruce had a poor outing. They had a really poor outing. The shooters had them tossed all over that circle. It was like tossing a salad with just lime juice and salt and pepper. Just
gentle
all over the circle. Yes.
Light leaves.
God, strike the road. They were all over the place. I mean, Aaron is the worst game I've seen her play this season.
Yeah.
And I'm a big Sunday Aaron fan. I'm a huge fan. I'm so glad for her.
Maybe that's a prime example of someone who, I mean, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think her first kind of finals that she's been in, it's difficult, isn't it? But I guess you've got to hope that got their kind of nerves and stuff out the way. And
I think she was tired.
Who, Sunday?
I think she was tired because she's one of the ones that have been playing every minute. However, she's been on court playing goal defense and running down someone for every match for 60 minutes at that level is quite tiring.
Yeah, it's not. Speaking of tired,
for keeping up.
It's not getting any easier, is it? Because she's got to play tonight and then she'll have to play next week. It's relentless for her.
She for sure needs a 2-day rest before you look any sort of training. 2 days, sleep.
Yeah,
get your body back. Yeah.
So we'll see, but yeah, Norma or Dan both would be very exciting appointments. And if they come out of left field with somebody that we're not expecting, then even better in some ways.
Well, you have to remember, Australia has a lot of coaches. Their coaching system is different to ours. Whereas if you have 400 pounds, you can get a certificate. Here, in Australia, you have to earn it. Il est en différence, huh? Yeah?
No comment, officer.
There is a difference because over here, you have the 400 pounds, you'll get the certificate. And automatically, that makes you a good coach. And because I've been turned away because I haven't got from a position because I haven't got that. But does that make me a bad coach? No. Am I better than who they've employed? Oh, hell yes. Hell yes. Yeah.
No, I would agree, and I'd say that it's not an either or because I know coaches with the badges that are good coaches, but it's not because they've got those badges that they're good coaches. It's because of their experience, etc.
Yes,
and their knowledge and their
done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And we as a nation need to step away from that, and I think I'd like to see us rearrange our coaching and certification program where people have to actually earn it. So when you do the course, you have to earn it to get that certificate, just to know that you're actually competent enough
Yeah, I
to
hear you.
to get these certificates, because anybody, oh, I've got a level 2, I've got a level 1, I've got a level 3. I mean, does that make you? What's your experience? What have you done in your coaching life? Who have you coached?
I think the other difficulty with it as well, and this is obviously easy for me to say as a younger coach, is that actually, and I guess, I mean, I see it more with umpires, but some people have achieved that a long time ago, and the game changes a lot in terms of, even just in terms of, I know when I did my level 2, learned about kind of player athlete loading and player welfare and mental health and stuff like that, which just, wouldn't have been there, say, 20, 30 years ago.
Absolutely.
And so the majority of coaches will have picked up those things and been taught by the coach or whatever, but some coaches will have passed them by, and it's important to, the game adapts and you have to adapt with it. But yeah, no, I agree with you.
And you've made a valuable point there, where people have, let's, for example, look at international coaches. And I'm going to use Norma again as my example, because Norma is an older coach. She's in her 70s. But Norma has evolved constantly, always searching for the newest, latest thing. She reminds me of Vivienne Westwood in the fashion world. Yep. Old bird, Vivienne. But Vivienne evolves, and if Vivienne loves the cutting edge, anything new, Vivienne is going to get it out there, Vivienne was one of the first ones to bring up the bustier vest, and stuff.
Yeah.
Love it.
For sure.
Should have bought one myself. But she constantly evolved, you know what I mean? And kept up with everything new, kept up with the younger ones.
Yeah.
It's the same with Norma Plummer. Norma is a girl on top all the time, and I love her for that. Whereas we have coaches who have been
banging the same drum.
Yes, the same. And if you keep doing the same things, you're gonna get the sweetie, you're gonna get the same result. And you know what I mean? So we need to see differences. We need to see coaches that will make a difference to the player's journey and to the team's journey.
Yeah. I think one of the difficulties we have in this country, and this is at the top level, is that actually, because of the money or the lack of at the moment, like, there's obviously a lot more money in it now than there has been, but we're still not at a level where a coach can just be a coach full time and live on that. It's not a comfortable kind of amount of money. So, we see it we've discussed it on the show before, with coaches who are also players, or also, head of netball at a franchise, or, managing director, or, all have different titles and roles and stuff. Director of netball. It's therefore difficult for it to be performance based, because, in other sports, frankly, there are, if teams turned out results that some of our Super League teams have, the coach wouldn't have lasted half the season. They'd have been, on the chopping block.
Jack. I beg to differ. Let's look at Mavericks. Ratnapala, full-time.
Is she?
Wasp, Mansfield, full-time. Celtic Dragon, full-time. Who else? Sirens, full-time position.
But the performance element still comes into it. Of we talked a lot on the show last year. Ratnapala is a good example, and I don't know Kat as a coach. I don't. It's not up to me to say who should or shouldn't have a coaching job, but actually, we've talked a lot on the show last year about them underperforming in many ways. And we said that, you know, based on the squad they have and the coaches they have and the experience they have, you know, they should have been in XYZ spot, and they finished in, you know, ABC, whatever. They didn't finish where we thought they should. And in other sports, if you had, and I'm not comparing this, but if you had pundits talking about coaches and that kind of consistent level of underachievement in games, you know, people would be calling for their jobs. But that's not something we're having. In many ways, I'm glad about that, because I don't think it's right. I think it's people's lives that are affected. But equally, you know,
yeah, but that would teach people, Jack, is to do your job properly.
Yeah, and you've got to think we'll get to that point at some point. But I think, yeah, again, it's maybe a flaw in the system that people can climb the ladder quicker because of certain, you know, things that go their way, or a lot of it's who you know, isn't it? That always helps.
Well, it's also speaking. In England, I've noticed it's about speaking the netball language. If you are fluent in these netball languages, then you're more likely to get through an interview, because you talk about certain things and there's certain buzzwords. Now, I always stay away from those. I have my own netball language. And my teams know my language and speak my language fluently. So I would never, if you get caught up in these netball language stuff, more likely you'll get through. I'm not going to do that because, no, I'm not going to do that at all.
I hear you. Did you watch the other game, the other semi-final?
I watched both. The second one was
Swifts and Giants.
Swifts, yes. Now
the Battle of the British Shooters.
I mean, that was quite something.
Fantastic advert for the sport.
I mean, really, really. I mean, Samantha Wallace. I mean, really now. That girl was just shooting for the gods.
It's on. She just never looks fazed by anything, does she?
No.
You look at her in the last quarter, and it's like she's just been out for a Sunday morning stroll.
Yes.
Like whether it's a 1-pointer, 2-pointer, if they had a 5-pointer, she just strokes it in every time as if it's nothing.
It's what is expected of the Caribbean shooters, to be honest. I don't know what about the Caribbean shooters, what makes them so, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's their twisted poles that they shoot on. Because I can remember in Jamaica, the poles were twisted. And shooters had to shoot through them. And when I say twisted poles, I mean they were dented, because the posts would fall over a lot.
So it's like leaning one way or another.
Yes. So they would actually fall over for some reason, maybe through vandalism or wind or whatever it is. So when they fall over, they would fall on the rim and get dented and beaten up. And so they'd fall on one side, they'd fall on the other side. So they get dented and stuff. And I remember, I could remember seeing at one point this post, and it almost looked like it was a square. And did they have another post to choose from? No. And that was what they were going to play the match on. They were going to play the match with. So, whoops. Oh, my thing is falling off. Yeah,
you're right. What choice they have?
That was what they were going to play the match with. Use for the match, and they just got on with it. Secondly, there is no net at all. I remember in Jamaica there were no nets at all, so they were shooting through these posts without no net. And when you shoot without the net, and when you come and you see the net, you're more likely to hit that target and hit it really, really good.
And she does, doesn't she? There's no rims involved.
Yes, and that's, I assume it's the same in Trinidad and Tobago, and as in Barbados, as in St. Vincent, as in St. Lucia, Antigua, and the list goes on. So there's something about the Caribbean shooters, but she's also incredibly calm. calm, not
which
flustered.
is so important in finals.
Absolutely. And maybe Joe Harton needs to take a lesson from this because she gets flustered. She does get flustered.
I think the problem is that Joe, from what I've seen, plays her best netball when she's fired up, when she's, you know, aggressive, passionate, everything else. And so the difficulty with that is that it can spill over in the same way that, you know, if you play your best netball when you're calm, sometimes you can be too calm and take your eye off the ball, etc., etc. But yeah, I think on this occasion, although I wouldn't say Hart had a particularly bad game. I thought she was good.
She's smart. She's smart.
Yeah.
She knows what she's doing.
I think,
but the players are wising up to her trickery. They're wising up to it. So all of the fakes and the pirouetting and all of that stuff, players are wising up to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd agree. And I think it was a strange game in many ways, wasn't it? Because on the one hand, it was a fantastic advert for the game and the quality of netball was brilliant. But on the other hand, both teams made quite a lot of errors. And actually, I think, you know, the Giants will come away from it being like, oh, we could have easily taken that. And the Swifts will come away from it thinking,
that last interception.
Well, yeah, even that.
That last interception by Maddie Hay, and then the ball was just frittered away at the other end. When if they're just taking 2-3 seconds more and just bring the ball to the circle and get, because it was 61-62 was the score. And I know they would have attempted a 2-pointer. Yeah, so that would have been 63-62.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think, but then, I mean, that, you know, that was the obvious one, but there was loads of little mistakes before that where, you know, teams didn't convert turnovers or it was silly, like, you know, and if as well, the Swifts were out to a good lead at the start. What was it, 6-7 after the first quarter?
Yep.
Like, they got up to 9 at one point, I think. Like, they shouldn't have let it get that close. Like,
but also credit to Giants.
Yeah.
Defending.
Yeah.
Defending.
For sure. Yeah, I thought Pullman had a good game.
Well, also they brought on Tilly McDonald. And she came on and had a stormer.
She was up for it, wasn't she? You see the little nudge off the quarter time between her and was it Moore from Swifts?
Yes, well, you know what?
That was
I'm all for a bit of bump and thumb.
Yeah.
I'm all for a little bit of bump and thumb, but that was incredible.
She was letting her know she was in a game. And that should be for any of these, you know, people on Twitter who talk about netball being a girls' game and it's just like a weak version of basketball. Have a watch of that game and you will it will
change your mind.
Yeah, it's serious.
It will change your mind.
And it was like, I think as soon as Joe Harton said in her interview beforehand about she doesn't want to get caught up in off the ball antics and stuff like that, that just set the tone. Like they knew that, because that was basically code for, well, we're going to do some off the ball stuff. Like, you know, she says, oh, we're not going to get caught up in it. That means we're going to try and get the better of it. And you saw it. There was loads of times where you saw players just sort of getting nudged about and pushed offside. And yeah, it was a good game. Good. What you'd want from a final.
There's a lot at stake.
Yeah,
so,
there is.
People are going to fight.
Players are playing for their contracts, really.
Absolutely. And that's one of the key things people tend to forget. The contracts are up for renewal. So do you get a contract or not?
Yeah.
I mean, the only person I think that is very sure is who? Maybe one player who, without even thinking.
I would say Housby. Okay then. I'm
saying nothing.
I understand why you wouldn't agree. I mean, Sam Wallace, I assume, is who you're talking about, who's a definite.
Another player from another team?
Oh, Janelle.
I mean, there's a bear poo in the woods.
Exactly. She's a certainty. I think with Helen, I've definitely seen games this season where she hasn't performed to her best, and I've been surprised by that. But I think that final showed how valuable she is.
She is, yes. She
she
will get a
was,
contract.
yeah, she was just, again, calm, fired up when she needed to be, just did a mountain of work for a tall shooter who could, try and play the holding game in there and have kind of two targets with her and Wallace. She just does so much work out front. And the relationship between her and Wallace is just brilliant. Like, they rarely misplace the ball.
Let's look at the preliminary finals tonight.
Yes.
Fever.
Well, Colin, you've already made your call, haven't you?
Fever and Giants.
You've already told us what's happening.
Well, I think Fever's going to take it. I don't know about you, but I think it's a Fever job. I'm getting a Fever this week.
I think it's hard to look against them. As I said, they have been they've accrued the most points throughout the season, but didn't finish as highly because of the salary cap deduction.
Mm-hmm. Hello. Are you here? Right.
Yes. Can you hear me?
I think. What do you think? Or what are some of the key matchups we're looking for tonight?
I mean, obviously, Janelle, you've got to shut Janelle down. Or you've got to stop the ball getting to her. Is more accurate. Because if you don't do that, then you're done for, because you've seen once the ball is down on the circle edge, Janelle's 1-on-1. No one's stopping her.
Who is the weakness on the Fever team? Who do you think? Who do they target?
I saw that Stacey Francis didn't have the best game in the semi-final. Mm-hmm. I don't for one second think she's a weakness, but I think if you're trying to...
Well, the whole backline didn't have a good game.
Exactly. So, I guess you could target any of them. I think for me, you look at it's... Yeah, there's no weakness is there's no weak players, but I think there's a lot of players who... So if you look at someone like a Bruce and a Harton at, defense for Fever and attack for Giants, they're both the top, their top ability and their bottom ability, there's a decent gap, like in terms of performance and what we see from them. So whichever one of them wins that battle is big. I mean, the obvious choice you'd say would be Sophie Dwyer. Target her because she's young, she's inexperienced, But if you saw her in the last semi-final, she could have been playing Social League.
What about Alice Neal? What about her? Targeting her. She gets at least 3 hell balls every match.
I think she's a good one. She does, and I think there's more pressure on her because they have the backup option. What's her name? The one they rotate her with?
Sasha Glasgow.
Yes. And, both of them are decent on the super shots. So actually, there's not that same selling point. And so I think, pressuring her would be good, but then you bring Sasha Glasgow on, does she do a better job?
So if you want to target, which combination on Fever would you have to break down to get in on par with them to beat them? Who do you think they would need to break down?
I think they need to break down. I think they need to break down the defense. I know we focus on the attack, but I think if Fever can get Sunday Ariang and Courtney Bruce both confident, on fire, and then throw Stacey Francis into that mix. If the three of them, because they're all ball winning defenders, aren't they? And they're all struck.
No. I think you're.
Sorry. Go on.
The wrong way. I meant if you want to beat Fever, how do you break them down? And who on that team do you want to target?
I guess it would have to be Teague Neald then, or Glasgow, whichever one of them's on, because you've got to break down that link.
Who feeds Janelle the most?
As in, who do I think is better at it, or who?
No. Who genuinely feeds her the most?
Well,
Especially
from what I've
in the
seen,
last 3 games.
From what I've seen, Teague Neald.
No, it's Verity Charles.
Oh, fine. Sorry, I thought you meant out of Teague Neald in Glasgow.
Yeah, it's Verity Charles.
Yeah.
So that you have to break up.
Yeah,
so
but this is what I'm saying. You have to.
Yeah,
It's stopping the ball getting to her, isn't it? Because once it's down, you've got to win it before it gets down there. Because once it's there, it's very difficult.
Amy Parmenter will have to come in to.
She looked strong. She has looked strong the last couple of rounds. I've seen some of her best netball, but the Fever are just a different beast, aren't they?
But it can happen, though. It is possible.
Yeah, I agree.
It is possible.
I agree, and I think if Giants bring their A game, then there's every chance.
Yeah. Who do you think might be the lucky umpires tonight?
I don't know. I try not to look at the umpires, but have they not announced them yet?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But I think it's going. They may go for some of the big guns. There's a guy called Matthew, Tim Matthews. Matthews, I think they may go for him. I think, but then it depends on where the game is going to be played in the first place.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think they're in Brisbane.
It's been moved around a lot, hasn't it? And
yeah, they're in Brisbane at the moment, I think.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't know loads of the names of the SunCorp umpires, etc.
I think Tim might be one of them.
Yeah, I'd recognise them to look at.
Yeah, Tim is like Josh Barry, in a way. We haven't seen much of Michelle Pippard this season. I don't know if she's injured or something. I would love to see her there, but then so we may have one of the other younger ones. There's a lot of young ones, but the young ones have been also making a lot of errors and not stepping in when it gets like Afghanistan.
The thing is, I think we forget that it's high pressure for the umpires as well. And I know the umpires are there to do their job and everything else, but actually in a final it can get pretty overwhelming for them as well, especially if it's close near the end and they. You start to know in your head that actually one call that you make could decide the outcome of the match. That you then start to second guess yourself, and it's it must be quite a difficult place to be.
I don't know if you noticed in the last couple of weeks, halftime there's been a lot of remonstration with the umpires, from the players. The players going up there, showing the umpires' ears about either rules clarification or something they're being stuck with a knife or something like that. But that has been happening for the last couple of weeks. And
they clearly believe there's some benefit to that because these girls are smart enough to know, I'm not going to go up and argue with a call that's happened, are they? Like they know that it's not going to change. So they obviously have witnessed situations where having a conversation with the umpire has been beneficial for a player or team. And so, that may be something that players target as well.
Well, that does work going up to the umpire at halftime. I did that a week ago in the men's and mixed championship. I was having a little bit of a time with this particular goalkeeper. It was something I maybe could have dealt with if I was fit, but I went up to the umpire at halftime. I took over. As the captain, I was not. I went over, I declared captaincy, and addressed the problem. And the first 4 calls went for me afterwards. And I was like, results!
There we go. Tips from our Colin.
Yeah, a little bit of manipulation.
You've got to get him on side.
Oh, yeah. And I went over very nice, very calmly. I behaved as if I was such a victim.
Well, if they're not on your side, they're on somebody else's. So.
You know, I mean, God forbid I could get there. I was almost nominated for the Oscar for the best acting award there, because when I went over to them, oh my God, did I put on a show? So, you know, going back to SunCorp, it does have its benefits.
Of course. And different umpires will have umpired different teams, different amounts of times and in different games, and have their different perceptions of players, and that can all play into it.
And who do you think will get to the final with Swifts, and who will take it out?
I mean, Giants beat Fever, didn't they, in the last week of the regular season? Was it the last or the penultimate week? I will go with Fever, just because I think they've been there, done it in the finals, got the t-shirt, etc. But I'd like to see Giants make it a really competitive and close game. As long as it's not a blowout, then I'm happy. What about you?
I think, actually, if it goes to I actually think Swifts could take it. Because...
Swifts?
Yeah.
Oh, in the grand final?
In the grand final.
Oh, in the grand final, I'm back in Swifts. Yes, sorry.
Yes.
I thought you meant for this one.
Swifts in the grand final. In the grand final, because Barony Akla has a funny little way of getting her troops to lift. And she seems to always come with something special. So
the relationship with her is quite different to what I've seen with coaches and players.
Yes.
She's more like
a player-centered approach.
Yeah, she's more of like one of the players in the huddle. And you see it with the celebrations afterwards, like she's right in there with them. It's not like this is what you're going to do. It's more of a, how can we all get to this together? And they kind of reach a conclusion together, which it works for her, clearly.
Absolutely. It's very player-centered.
Yeah.
Whereas Marinkovic, correct pronunciation, she's more do.
Yeah.
You know?
And her players respond to that, so it's...
And they respond to that too. So it's just who can lift on it. But I just have a sneaky feeling that is going to be a heartbreak hotel again for Fever. I would love to see Fever win it, but I have a sneaky feeling because I think these coaches want to prove themselves against the national team coach.
Oh, of course. Of course.
So McInnes did it last season. And I think Barony would like to have a cut of that as well. So I actually have a sneaky feeling.
If Fever get there, of course.
And let's move on to other news in the world of netball. So this week, we've seen that Kenya, South Africa, Lesotho, and Uganda have selected their men's team, their men's national teams. So we've seen, this is absolutely great because there will be a men's tournament in South Africa from the 14th to the 18th of September.
Okay.
Yes, and this will be in preparation, hold the drums, for the first African Men's Championship in 2022. And where is that going to be? In the land where that created chicken tagine, Morocco, of all the places.
Are they playing?
Yes, they will be part of the competition too. So how good is that for men's netball, for netball in general? But my God, for the guys.
Yeah,
how
I mean,
good
just
is that?
unheard of. Yeah, just yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've only just I saw the South African team named and I saw the Kenyan one, but I didn't know about Lesotho and Uganda and
And
Morocco either.
Kenya.
Yeah,
And Kenya.
yeah,
Yes.
just fantastic. And I guess all feeds in hopefully to 2032, the Olympics.
Well, I hope, one of the great things about this new administration, the new world netball, is that they seem to be a lot more, or trying to be a lot more inclusive. And that inclusivity it's been spreading and spreading, I mean, really quite well around the world. So long may that live.
Well, at the end of the day, whatever you think about men's netball, it's never going to get in the Olympics without men taking part. So
Absolutely.
they need, if that's a goal of theirs to get netball into the Olympics, then they need to increase male and mixed participation, don't they? So,
and also a little birdie have told me that there will be a men's championship as well in the AFNA region.
In where? Sorry.
In the AFNA region.
AFNA being
Caribbean region.
the Caribbean, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So that again, I mean, this is great news. Great.
Yeah,
news.
I mean that would be good because I think well, obviously you know a lot more about it than me, but there has been male representation in netball in the Caribbean for a long time.
Absolutely.
But so it's often only been like individual series or individual tournaments, hasn't it? So actually to have like a proper tournament with a few different sorry, I'm just reading that comment on there. Some say there are sports in the Olympics that are single gender. Your tar. I don't believe there are anymore. I believe that every sport in the Olympics now has male and female participants, or there's a male and female equivalent of each event. So we're like how we have the heptathlon for women, there's then the decathlon for men.
Yes.
But I believe every event is now competed for by men and women. But so, please, if anyone knows that I'm wrong, then please do tell me.
Well, you know what? The Olympic Committee they're very strong about what their somebody says synchronized
swimming. I think I feel like there are men in that.
Yes,
I feel like this year they did like a mixed one.
Russia has a mixed synchronized team.
That's what I thought.
And
getting told female only.
Yeah, but somebody's only focusing on synchronized swimming. Who cares about some gel in your hair and a pin on your nose and dip you underneath some water? Nobody cares about that. We care about a sport that is played on hardwood for 60 minutes. Yeah, that's what we care about, and that's what we're actually lobbying for. And how are we going to do that? We have to have equality across the board. And who we have to thank for that so far? We have to thank New Zealand for leading the way, because they've opened up the door.
Yeah.
In terms of equality, and now other regions are following, and it's a great thing. Don't you think?
Couldn't agree more. Absolutely. I think it's a great progression and hopefully just continues to grow from here.
Absolutely. And now that England have had a championship, now you might see England, because England are one of the big nations. So you'll see England out there fighting, because believe me, the men's the top four in the women's may not be the same top four for men's. Absolutely.
And by 2032, the top four for women's may have changed.
Again, well, if I have anything to do with it, of course, I'll make sure it does. But yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. And by the way, countries like South Africa are going. I don't know if you've heard. They're looking to get a professional league up going. They recently had um, a competition called Twizzle. I think the final is supposed to be in September, where they're paying for money, real hard money.
Okay.
Men and women. Yes. So a lot of things are happening in South Africa in terms of netball. And also the president, Cecilia Mokowani, she has embraced men's and mixed netball really well.
Okay.
So absolutely. So
it's all moving in the right way.
We are moving in the right way. Thanks to the openness of the new president of the World Netball, Liz Nichols. We thank her. We thank her and Claire Beagle, who's the CEO, who's the chief operation officer based in Manchester. We thank them for their work so far, because it's going in the right direction.
It absolutely is, and it's exciting. It's really exciting for anyone involved with netball.
I mean, 2032. How old will you be then? Will you be? Is
that a question to me or to the audience?
No, well, I'm asking you. Will you be a player or will you be a some sort of administrator, coach, whatever? What will you be?
I guess we'll have to wait and see. I'd still be old enough to lace my boots by then, so or young enough, I should say. There's definitely players who are older than me. There are players who are older than I will be then who took part in the men's nationals final a couple of weeks ago. So if they can do it, why not?
I hope that wasn't a dig at me. I'm only 32 years old. I'm
talking about the final.
And that's without,
neither of us were there.
And that's without VAT. And that's without VAT. At 40%.
You'll be playing to. You'll be playing till they put you in the ground, won't you?
I don't think. No, 2032. I'll be a commentator.
Yeah, that is that. Yeah, or a coach, or a coach.
Yes. You never know.
Who knows?
What about? Let's wrap up. What about local netball? How is netball in your region?
Yeah, good question. Good. I think it's been difficult over the last 2 years with the pandemic. I don't know what it's been like for other countries, but in England, we've had a lot of restrictions, mainly on indoor sports.
Absolutely.
And I think for a lot of netballers, it's been a bit of a wake-up call as to how different it is playing outdoors when you're suddenly competing with wind and rain, and like you talked about earlier, posts with bends in and no nets and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
It's a very different sport. And so, yeah, again, it's a positive, moving in the right direction. Indoor venues are opening up again. Outdoor, social leagues that previously weren't starting with fear of going into another lockdown and having to stop too soon and losing money are now opening up again. And so, it's a positive time. And I think hopefully we'll now see some sort of, normal, the new normal, as part of that. Just reading the comments here. BBC Netball are correct. The sport is swimming. Synchronise the discipline within it, and same for someone Amir posted about artistic dancing, which I think is known as rhythmic gymnastics, which falls under gymnastics, which is obviously participated in by men. So yeah, there might be individual events, but every sport is competed for by both males and females, I believe, and I may be wrong. So if I am, I'm sorry. As you would say, Colin, if I am, then I'm Boris Johnson.
Yes. But, Are you still working with your local
Yeah.
team?
Yeah. My local club, Sutton Royals Netball. Shout out, not that any of them will be listening, but and then also obviously involved with NTU men's team. So
Where to for the men's team?
again,
Where to for them now? What are their plans? What did having dipped their toes in the waters of netball? Where to for them now?
I think for a lot of us, it was our first kind of exposure to that level, and so that's done
Not
us a lot of
yours.
good.
Not yours.
Not mine. But for we're a team. There we go. They've got it. Like they've understood it now, and we saw growth and progression throughout the weekend. We're having a bit of a break at the moment, having a few weeks off during the summer, coming back to it in September, and hoping to recruit some more players. Hoping that guys have watched what happened over the weekend. And want to get involved. And we've also got, because we're linked to the university, we're hoping to get some students in who will be coming back for their new term. And so, it'll be interesting to see how we get on. But we've got some things planned that we want to work on. Nationals gave us lots of things that we're really pleased with, and lots of things to work on. And the beauty of being able to watch it back means that we can watch it again and again and find more and more to analyse.
I thought you had a fantastic team.
Yeah, I think
with a little bit more help on structure, they could do a lot better.
Yeah, and the thing is, we're a very new team. We've not been together long in comparison to quite a few others, and so where we finished is where we expected to finish. If you were looking at like longevity of clubs and everything else, that's where people would have expected us to finish. We definitely, if we performed our best, could have finished a little higher. But overall, we're happy with what we did, and come next year, it'll be a different story.
Good. And on that note, we'd like to end today's show. It's been fantastic. Yes, it's been fantastic discussing all the different topics.
Absolutely.
SunCorp, World Netball, netball news. It's been incredible. So, all to our listeners, our viewers tonight, we'd like to thank you wherever you're coming from. We are in England tonight. It's an English-based show tonight. But to our Caribbean viewers, to people in Jamaica, in Trinidad, St. Vincent, Canada, the US of A, South Africa, and also we have in Australia. Thank you for watching tonight. And remember, the final is next week, and there will be blood on that dance floor. On behalf of FanJam Talkshow, Jack and myself would like to say good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.